All right. UFC 309 is just around the corner. The coveted John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Now, we are coming off that pretty great card, I would consider, with the Neil Magny versus Carlos Prates at UFC Vegas 100. Now we're moving on to the big boy. Now, what does this mean? Well, good sir, I'm glad you asked. I'm going to go through my breakdowns and my predictions. Not bets, because I don't gamble. I don't recommend gambling. You shouldn't gamble. Gambling ruins lives. So with all that being said, I kind of just do this based off passion. I do this based off, I have love for the sport, I care what happens with the sport. I like watching men go to war, pretty much. Now, with that being said, let's get right into the predictions. Veronica Hardy versus Eduardo Mora. Now, if you don't know, I do this really high-tech, almost guaranteed success. Guaranteed success for predicting women's fights. Now, this might, if you don't have an IQ level high enough, you might not be able to understand it, but it's okay. So we click this button here, and basically it'll tell us if it lands on tails, then we go on the one on the left, and that's Hardy. And if it lands on heads, we go the one on the right, which is Eduarda. So now we flip. All right, so we're going with Veronica Hardy. Veronica Hardy, she's a hard worker. Yeah. She has good fights sometimes, and this is going to be one of those times. 29-28 split decision. Moving on to the real fight. So we got Basil Hafez versus Oban Elliott. This one, I know, is controversial amongst a lot of gamblers here. A lot of people are really worried about this fight, and I'm going to be honest with you here. I'm going to pick... Normally, I pick the dangerous guy, but this time around, I think I'm going with Oban Elliott. Oban Elliott, I do think is overrated, and I do think is in for a harsh fraud checking. However, I think Basil Hafez is just like over the hill, and I just don't think he's that good enough anymore. I know he's still young at 32, but when we look at like fighters, a lot of them seem to have this early peak, like an Alexander Hernandez, and then as they get older, even in their prime years at 32, 33, they're just shit. And I think Hafez is just shit. He's got great power, but he's not like ranked welterweight tier, where I think Oban Elliott could at least make ranked welterweight tier, with his grappling alone. I know Basil's got like a great black belt or whatever it is, but I'm sensing Basil's gonna try to stay on the feet, thinking he can knock out Oban Elliott, because Oban Elliott on the feet doesn't look great. I think Oban Elliott's probably gonna get like a clean takedown here and there, and he's gonna be able to just ride out a few rounds. So I'm thinking like a 30-27 split 29-28 situation with Oban Elliott. I just think he has a gritty toughness to get it done, and I think he knows what he's in for. It's hard to take a Basil Hafez fight and be like, oh, there's no danger here, And, like, a decision win against Mickey Gall, like, is that really what we're talking about here, It's just, I just don't rate it, I don't rate a lot of the record of Basil Hafez. Man, it's just, I think it'll be a long night for him, I think he can definitely get it done. I'm not saying it's impossible, I think if he does get it done, it'll be on the feet. I don't think he's getting a submission, but, like, Hafez isn't like a Yusuf Zalal, Hafez isn't like a Peyton Talbot, Hafez is like... He's like a slightly... He's a better jiu-jitsu Daniel Rodriguez. That's kind of how I see Hafez. But yeah, with that being said, Oban Elliott, decision. Moving on, Mickey Gall versus Ramirez. That. However the fuck you say that. I'm not even gonna attempt to pronounce that. Holy shit. Bruh. Yeah, I'm not. I'm just fucking not with these names. A lot of people shit on Mickey Gall for good reason. No. Eesh. Let's see. All right, let's refresh the brain here. You know, he's been around for a while. Got knocked out by Mike. Oh no. Oh no. He lost to Morono. Yeah, I can't pick me. Who's this Ramirez? Ramiz? Who's this guy? Huh? Okay. Taking him to decision. I'm pretty sure Tembo was sick that day, but it's okay. Not fighting. You know? Losing to Court McGee realistically isn't that bad. You know? So, Mickey Gall, he's lost to the... Okay, he got knocked out to Mike Malott. He's got no chin. He's shit. That's all that needs to be said. Mike Malott has one of the worst stand-ups I've ever seen in the division. I'm going with Ramiz. Could Mickey Gall get it done? Sure. Do I care? No. Moving on. Marcin Tybura versus Jonathan Deniz. Damn, Tybura's old. Holy fuck. Hey, 39? Yeah, I feel like the last time I saw him, he was 37. Damn. Damn. He's not even a fatter man out there. Holy shit. Got good reach, to be fair. I'm going with Tybura. I think this is going to be classic Tybura, and Tybura's just going to lay on Janata. Like, I think that's kind of it, you know? I don't know why. I think Deniz is going into this thinking he can knock out Tybura. He can. Oh, believe me, he can. But I think Tybura's smart enough to, like... live a minute and then shoot a takedown, and I think after he shoots a takedown it'll be sloppy heavyweight in round 2, and then sloppy heavyweight typically ends up being who can lean on the other heavyweight better, and that's Tybura. And then we get into round 3 and then Tybura's still laying on him, so I'm thinking like a 30-27 with Tybura getting cut here and there. Yeah, 30-27 Tybura is kind of what I'm going with. Can Janata get it done? I think he could. I don't think he will though. You know, but root for him. Moving on. Holy shit. Is this real? Nikita Krylov versus Azamat Mirzakhanov. Holy shit, this guy's never lost? Interesting. I thought he did lose. Anyways, Nikita Krylov is kind of like shit. Like, he's like high level dog shit. Like, he's like a not dangerous Johnny Walker with a better chin in terms of like skill for skill. I think Azamat's just gonna win. I mean, Krylov is over the hill. No, he's not. He's 32. Wow, what the fuck are you doing with your career, brother? Holy shit, you fight a lot over the course of your lifetime. But like, he looked shit. Okay, I'm not gonna say he looked shit, but he didn't look great against Ryan Spann. I know I got the round 1 submission, but I'm like, you know, before the submission. Did you lose to Paul fucking Craig 2 years ago? Like, he knocked out Gustafsson, but that was, you know, Gustafsson. Yeah, I'm going with Azamat. I just think Krylov is shit. I think a lot of people are like, oh, when's he gonna get the title? Oh, this, that, and the other. I just think Krylov is just, like, not good. Like, I think he's got a round of decent grappling, and then he kind of looks like Reiner de Ritter in terms of stand-up. Just saying. That's kind of how I see him as. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, Azamat probably by finish, but I could see... Nah, I'm going with, like, a round 3 finish. I think he'll survive round 1, still win the round, go into round 2, still win the round, and probably get a round 3 finish, even though he's getting hugged up against the cage a bunch. David Onama versus Lucas Alexander. Ooh, David Onama. David O fucking Nama, eh? David Onama, eh? Love to see David Onama. Gabriel Santos is a good win. I like that win. I like these wins, man. I like David Onama. A little chinny. A little chinny. I do sense a little bit of a no chin from David Onama, but I like Onama, you know? I think he's got good style. I think he's got great ground, and I think he's got good enough stand-up to, like, keep it good on the feet, you know? Where I'm not worried that he's going to get knocked out in the first round, you know? He's no Jekka that, you know? He's no Steven that, you know? And Lucas Alexander, you know, you're getting finished by Jekka. Not really much else to say, you know? No, but seriously, I just think David Onama, skill for skill, is just better. I don't think there's really much issue. This is like, David Onama is like, in a sense, like a different, slightly less talented Damon Blackshear. That's kind of how I view him. And yeah, I think David Onama will probably get it done. Probably a second to third round finish. He's probably going to look like shit in the first round, and I think he'll probably make a nice comeback in round 2 and 3. That's kind of how I predict it. But, you know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, David Onama, round 2, round 3 finish. Moving on, we got Jim Miller versus Damon Jackson. I'm picking Jim Miller. I like Damon Jackson, but his stand-up is atrocious. And Jim Miller, I know some people are like, he's old, he's washed, blah, 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 blah. I mean, watching Jim Miller Bobby Green back was, like, insane. I can't believe Jim Miller's alive, you know? And I know a lot of people are like, that's an old Bobby Green. The dude knocked out Grant Dawson not that long ago, and Grant Dawson at least has shown to have a fairly decent chin recently. He can at least absorb more than a jab from someone, you know? And Bobby Green put him down on 1. And Bobby Green was, like, landing clean, flush. Regardless if Bobby Green still has power or not, like, those shots are putting out unranked lightweights, you know? Damon Jackson, I feel like, just doesn't belong in lightweight, you know? I do think he belongs in featherweight. I don't know why he's going up to lightweight. Is Jim Miller the taller guy? He's not the taller guy. Interesting. The reach is the same. That's kind of interesting. But, like, I'm not saying Damon Jackson's necessarily bad, because losing to Chepe Mariscal I don't think is bad. But, like, you know, losing to Billy Q, you know, Jim Miller was kind of on a heater, you know, getting knocked out fairly recently, where Jim Miller, for his age, he's not getting knocked out, you know? I think Jim Miller might just win this and then retire. I think that's kind of how it goes. I just don't think that he's going to be around all the way to UFC 400 like he's been thinking. And I think this is a good fight to go off out on, man. You know, I think it's good for Jim Miller. And I, like, Gabriel Santos. Was that his name? Who was that bum he beat? Gabriel Benitez. That's who it was. Gabriel Benitez was fucking tough in that fight, man. Like, Gabriel Benitez might actually give a lot of lightweights some fucking problems. You know, he was lighting up Jim Miller's legs, and Jim Miller had to correct himself, and then, you know, Jim Miller just ended up winning the leg kick battle. I like Jim Miller in this matchup. I think his stand-up is good enough to, like, he could finish Damon Jackson on the feet. And I think his ground game is going to be good enough to avoid getting sort of grappled by Damon Jackson. But I could see Damon Jackson getting it done. I'm leaning on Jim Miller. I think Jim Miller gets it done. I'm like 60-40 on this fight. You know, I do recognize Damon Jackson's got some wicked fucking ground game sometimes. So I'm going with Jim Miller. Now we move on to Chris Weidman versus Eric Anders. Chris, eye poke. Fucking Weidman. Oh, man. God. Oh, he's such a piece of shit. Honestly, probably ruined Bruno Silva's whole fucking career at this point. You know, Bruno Silva. Let's see. Yeah, you fucking bastard. You know, just, you know, disappointed. You know, disappointed. KO's Brad Tavares, loses to Brendan Allen, which looks very good. Loses to Bashar Button, looks very good. Arguably, he could have won that. No, he definitely lost that one. But then he gets eye poke slaughtered by fucking Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman landed 6 eye pokes around, didn't get a point taken away. And that's kind of why I'm going with Chris Weidman here. Eric Anders is shit. Some people are like, he's an elite athlete, blah, 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 blah. Jamie fucking Pickett was giving this guy problems, and I thought Jamie Pickett genuinely won that fight off damage. Eric Anders can hold you against the fence, which he could do against Chris Weidman. But I think Chris Weidman, he's going to get his cheating habits going. You know, he's going to eye poke you, you know, and he'll double down on eye poking an opponent as well, you know. Just move your eyes, you know. That's kind of the way he looks at eye pokes. So he has no problem eye poking. Probably will have no problem groin shotting. And yeah, there's a quick and easy way to beat Chris Weidman, and that's leg kicks and pressure. Eric Anders kind of has none of that. Eric Anders has takedowns. And Chris Weidman, fairly decent at takedown defense, but I'm not really too worried about that. I'm just more or less thinking, okay, Chris Weidman gets 4 eye pokes in round 1. Will the judges let it? Yeah. Could Chris Weidman get an eye poke, land a shot, and then Eric Anders goes down because of the eye poke and not the shot, and they call the fight a TKO? Yeah, I could see that. So I'm going Chris Weidman via DQ, actually, is my prediction. I do think Chris Weidman's genuinely going to do an illegal move, and he's going to be DQ'd. Or it'll be a TKO, but we all know it's a DQ, you know? Sort of like a Ruziboev Dumas situation, where it's a clear eye poke, Dumas goes down, and everyone's like, oh my god, he just knocked him out. Oh, let's take a look at your knockout here, and you just clearly see Ruziboev stick his finger into Dumas's eye. I think it might be one of those situations. Moving on. Jonathan Martinez versus Marcus McGee. A lot of people are repping Marcus McGee. Listen, Marcus McGee, he's dangerous. He's looking a little wild with that hairdo. You know, I think Jonathan Martinez has potential for top 5. I'm not seeing it in Court McGee. I rate Jonathan Martinez. As far as technique goes, I rate Yanez pretty good. And I kind of have to ask myself, could Yanez beat Court McGee? And I kind of think he might. You know, he might. And that's kind of the problem I have with Court McGee. Or, not Court McGee, Marcus McGee here. And Marcus McGee does have the shorter reach. Jonathan Martinez does have nasty leg kicks. And I think those nasty leg kicks... Here's the thing, man. Jonathan Martinez blasts the leg kicks early, you know? We saw it in Yanez's fight. We saw a little bit in Jose Aldo's fight, but that was like a little bit of caveated. You know, King of Brazil right in front of you. Jose Aldo is still dangerous on the feet, still wicked on the feet, and that fight was pretty close. And Jonathan Martinez survived a lot from Jose Aldo, you know? So I think Martinez has the toughness here, and I think Martinez is probably going to get like a nice KO, you know? I think McGee is going to get too comfortable with the hands. I think we're going to see him do a lot of, like, looping shit. Like, he's going to try to go for that straight left, you know, and then we see him leg kick, you know, leg kick, and then leg kick. And it's like, you know, oh, jab. Okay, now his jab's looking wonky. Oh, he's stumbling a little bit on that foot. You know, straight right gets slept by a check hook type situation. Or even a head kick. Jonathan Martinez is wicked with those kicks, you know. I love a good leg kick. So I'm picking Jonathan Martinez. I'm fairly confident. I'm like 75, maybe 85% on Jonathan Martinez here. I respect McGee, but it's just like, I'm not seeing that much. Like, he knocked out Bolaños. Everyone's going to be like, well, look at what Bolaños just did to the prospect. Cover it up, blah, blah, blah. Bolaños almost got knocked out in every round of that fight against Ramius. It's like anyone with power puts out Bolaños, you know? And I picked Bolaños, okay? Then he knocks out JP Bays. Congrats. Journey Newson, you know? Like, I just think level of competition-wise, Marcus McGee, like, the way I'll put it... Or Marcus McGee. Fucking, what's his name? Oh, it is Marcus McGee. I keep on mixing up Court McGee. The way I put it, Jonathan Martinez's last 3 fights are Jose Aldo, Adrian Yanez, and Said Nurmagomedov. I think all 3 of those opponents are just... And Cub Swanson? Oh! I would say, bare minimum, in the last 2 years that he's fought, the last 3 opponents are better than every single one of Court McGee's, Marcus McGee's, entire career. Like, Marcus McGee hasn't fought anyone on the level of Jonathan Martinez, nor the level of competition Jonathan Martinez has been getting since he's been to the UFC. So, I just think it's like night and day, you know? And I just think Jonathan Martinez, skill for skill, is just going to outskill McGee. You know, especially considering Martinez is coming off a loss. I'm sensing that Brazil dog in him, you know? So, going with Jonathan Martinez, fairly confident. Moving on, we have Mauricio Ruffi versus James Longtop. Mauricio Ruffi might have one of my favorite moves I've ever seen inside of a UFC octagon. He literally MK fucking X'd fucking scissor fucking swept Jamie Malarkey, you know, and he did it flawlessly. He literally made it look like video games were real. You know how Max Holloway is like, yeah man, I learned all my striking from video games. Ruffi literally did his striking from video games, you know? I'm not going to be surprised if in the middle of this octagon, he shoots a fucking Hadouken from his hands, and he just absolutely obliterates Longtop with the fucking, I don't even know, bicycle kick from fucking Bruce Lee, you know? Or Bruce Lee. Fucking, what's that guy's name? I can't remember his name. Fuck. Something Lee, isn't it? Fuck, I can't remember his name. God damn it. The hero of Earthrealm. Trying to remember his name. What's his fucking name? Shit, I can't remember his name. Oh well. They'll bicycle kick his ass, you know? Liu Kang. That's who it was. He'll fucking Liu Kang his ass, bro. Calling it right now. No, but I think Ruffi is just going to be better everywhere and absolutely slaughter Longtop. I recognize the danger Longtop has, and I recognize you're getting submitted by Chris Padilla, you know? You know? Pulling out of Gabe Green, you know? No, but I do think... What's his face? I think Ruffi will be something at lightweight. Lightweight is his stack division, and Ruffi is making who should be good tests look like they don't belong in the fucking UFC. Jamie Malarkey is a decent test for, like, power. And Ruffi just literally outsped, out-techniqued, outpowered Jamie Malarkey. No fucking problem. Right? And so far, he's just been going on a tear. He might be like the Joe Anderson Brito, I'd say. You know, he's getting some wacky KOs and he's getting some wacky moves off, and I think he continues to do it until he gets ranked opponents. You know, so I'm going with Ruffi. I don't look at betting odds. I'm gonna guess Ruffi's like the biggest favorite on the card. But yeah, I'm taking Ruffi here. Now moving on, we have Vivian Araujo versus Karine Silva. Now we go to the elite gambling, or the elite method here for picking. Obviously, Karina Silva is going to get it done. 29-28. She's the younger, taller fighter. You know, hard worker. Love the hairstyle. You know, moving on, we have Bo Nickel versus Paul Craig. Now, this might be the hottest take of the year. This might be the molten hot take here. I'm going with Paul Craig. Like, actually going with Paul Craig here. And I'm like 65-75 on Paul Craig right now. Listen, Bo Nickel is the best wrestler in the UFC. Hey, I said it. But this is mixed martial arts. And Paul Craig kind of has a knack for... Paul Craig has this rare, unique ability. And his ability... You know how, like, every... you know, in My Hero Academia, everyone's, like, born with a quirk? Paul Craig's quirk is that when he faces someone with, like, more skill than him, the more skill that person has over him, the more dangerous Paul Craig becomes, you know? You know, he's TKO'd, I guess, a Jamal Hill. He's submitting Ankalaev. And we know where they stand in the division. And now he's going down a division. Am I worried he's going to get knocked out? Of course, it's Paul Craig. He'll probably get knocked out in spectacular fashion if he does get knocked out. But if Bo Nickel wants to wrestle with Paul Craig, just saying it, I know Bo Nickel's this great wrestler and he's working on his jiu-jitsu, but like, Paul Craig's got pretty good out of nowhere submission, you know? And that's kind of what I feel like you need against the Bo Nickel. To beat Bo Nickel, you need two things. You're not going to stop his takedowns, so you need to be dangerous on the feet, and you need to be dangerous on the ground. You know, I don't think you need to have a godlike chin, because I don't think Bo Nickel hits that hard, even though he does have that ginger gene. If you don't know, we get a, ×2 on our power scaling whenever we throw punches. But I do think Paul Craig gets this one done. I do think he pulls off like a wicked submission, probably in the late 3rd round. I'm going to say it, man. It's going to be a situation where it's like, oh, Bo Nickel's looking really good, but he's not, like, that good. People are going to start looking away because he's just being boring and wrestling. And I think Paul Craig's just going to whip up the fucking knee bar or something and just fucking tap out Bo Nickel. You know? Or, at the very least, what I do think is, like, almost guaranteed, I think Paul Craig gets a submission off and Bo Nickel just doesn't tap. Great example, I think if an armbar happens, which Paul Craig's known for getting here, I think he snaps the arm and Bo Nickel doesn't tap. I think if there's a knee bar happening, I don't think he taps. You know? I think Bo Nickel, unless he's choked out, isn't tapping. That's what I will say. But I think Bo Nickel's picking this fight because he wants to do stand-up with Paul Craig. And I think Paul Craig accepted this fight because I think he sees grappling gaps in Bo Nickel's game. What I mean by that is let's not act like we haven't seen someone submit Bo Nickel here, you know? And am I saying Paul Craig is on the same level as Gordon Ryan? No. But a lot of wrestlers do this thing where they think they could just do their wrestling thing and their wrestling thing's just going to beat jiu-jitsu guys. This might be a hot take, but I do think, like, in the same way Muay Thai is like the kryptonite to boxing, I think jiu-jitsu is like a weaker kryptonite to wrestling. I think that's the way you do it, you know? If you're going to wrestle against a jiu-jitsu guy, you got to hope that jiu-jitsu guy isn't dangerous off his back. But Paul Craig is. So I'm going with Paul Craig. I think Paul Craig gets it done. I think there's great potential for him in this fight. And I think if he loses, it is what it is. Paul Craig realistically actually isn't that old, only being 36. I know he's getting finished. I know he's getting knocked out. Yes, I'm worried Bo Nickel knocks him out, but I'm leaning more on the edge here, and I'm gonna take the Paul Craig. I think he gets it done in wild, spectacular fashion here. But yeah, moving on. Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. I'm going with Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira probably by round 1 knockout. Chandler's 38 years old. He's short. He's a midget. He hasn't fought in a long time. Damn, Charles is getting old, man. Fuck, man. What happened to Charles' era, bro? What happened to the Bronx's era? Man? I feel like it came and went so fast. But, yeah, no, I'm going with Charles Du Bronx Oliveira. I think he gets it done by KO. I think Charles is still dangerous. I think he's still got heat in his hands. I think he wins, and then he calls out Max Holloway, and then they do Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira. That's what I think happens. That's what I think is realistic. That's what I think is, genuinely going to happen. I think Mike Chandler only took this fight because it's a rematch, and he thinks he could win, and he's one of those, like, I can do anything as long as I conceive, believe, and achieve. But, sorry, brother. Back to the gulag with your dumbass. You ain't getting no fucking fight. And after Chandler loses this fight, cut him from the UFC. There's no point in having him in the UFC. He is kidnapping children and adopting them. Enough said. Anyways. Yeah, Charles Oliveira, easy finish. Moving on, Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Obviously, I'm going Stipe Miocic. No, I'm joking. As much as I don't want to do it, I do think it'll be Jon Jones. But here's what I will say. I think Stipe is going to look like Jon Jones' toughest test since a Dominic Reyes. I think Stipe is genuinely going to look dangerous on the feet. He's going to hurt Jon a few times. People are going to be like, whoa, I think he wobbled Jon there. And I think Stipe is going to stuff a lot of the takedowns early. And I do think, like, this probably ends in the third round, maybe fourth round. Could even go to decision. Because a lot of people are like, John Jones, submission threat, blah, 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 blah. He submitted a guy who's never wrestled a day in his life in Zero Gun. I mean, it's that simple. Stipe actually has wrestling experience and has beaten Daniel Cormier and has knocked out Daniel Cormier. Stipe's fucking good, you know? But he is old, and that's the problem. His last fight, he obviously got knocked out by Francis Ngannou, which is aging very well, to be fair. However, I just think John Jones is going to be able to cheat. They're not going to stop him from eye poking. They're not going to stop him from fucking groin shots. They're not going to stop him from doing John Jones stance where it's literally like, oh, ha, 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 you better not get close. And then John Jones just has a freak reach, and he's just able to do it. Like, I mean, it's as simple as that. And I think narrative's going to be pound for pound great, blah, 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 blah. I want nothing more than Stipe to flatline Jones. But I do think John Jones wins. The wife-beating, cuck boy, gay man. He is closeted. I think he wins. I think he gets it done. And I think he probably wins by a third or fourth round finish, leaning towards a decision in that sort of realm. Because I do think Stipe, I think this will be one of those fights where it's like, wow, Stipe is actually still really good. But in hindsight, he is 42, you know? And an in-prime Stipe genuinely probably smokes Jones. This Stipe is kind of here just for the money, let's be honest. But, yep, that's my picks and predictions. Again, I don't bet. If you do bet, hey, more power to you. Good luck, I guess. But with all that being said, I want to thank you for tuning into this video, watching all the way to the end, and as always, I hope you have a good day.